Well, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here this morning. For those of you that hung in there with me over the last few years, wondering what had happened with me, where I went, I will be coming out with a big personal announcement over the next week or so, working on some big projects in the background. So I'm happy to do this video this morning. It's been a long time since I've shared my thoughts on pretty much anything. I've shared some links and comments over the last few months, and you guys will understand why and how it coincides with what's going on in the background. So I'm really excited about this. It's coming up. So please stay tuned. Hang out with me here on the Shed Talk group as well as the YouTube channel. So I'll be posting those on the YouTube channel and putting the notification here, the post on Facebook that will take you to the YouTube channel. So please, when you do subscribe, click the like or not, make comments, let me know that you're there. It's just gonna be fun. I'm trying to interact with you guys and share my thoughts and all the time and research that I put into what's going on the day-to-day basis, the world we live in, the geopolitical situation we're in, the governments we're dealing with, what happens with our financial systems, the value of the different things that's part of our life, which should be from homes to money itself, etc. So yesterday, somebody asked me, and that's something that also happens quite frequently, is a lot of people in my life will ask me the same or similar questions. They have similar misunderstanding about things and they're trying to sort it out. We hear a lot of new words lately, cryptocurrencies and all the different armies in the cryptocurrency world, blockchain, CBDCs, so on and so forth. So today, I want to give you my perspective on what's going on with CBDCs and cryptocurrencies versus the system we have grown up in the last 4 or 5 decades for me, and which is the fiat system and the air rewards program, that kind of stuff we have. So I want to put a few pieces into place to show you how I structure the way I approach these things. But basically, the way I look at cryptocurrencies and what their place is going to be in the world moving forward, to me, is no different than the programs that we have right now, such as Air Miles, Canadian Tire Money, PC Points, doesn't matter which one you sign up to. Moving forward, those are two structures that have lived in parallel now for quite a while. And moving forward, there's no way to change the dynamic in between these structures because of what it means at the foundation of the structure, the control of our societies, and so on and so forth, and the possibility, the capacity for government to exert authority on a nation. So let's dive right into it, and to kind of show you what I mean by what I just said is think about like Canadian Tire Money, for example. So Canadian Tire Money, just like cryptocurrencies right now, can be worth a whole lot more than just like the value of being a currency, i.e. Facilitating exchange of goods and services for time or value, etc. So right now, like that's as of February 12th, your Canadian Tire Money can be worth as much as $3,500 Canadian. So look in the drawers, see if you got any old Canadian Tire Money. I know I'm going to do that probably later this weekend just for fun. And so what I mean here, also what I want to point out as a parallel, is Canadian Tire Money is a network. So you cannot use your Canadian Tire Money to go to Walmart, for example, and purchase milk. You cannot take that printed money or bills and go to Home Depot and buy wood, for example. So it works within the Canadian Tire Money network, and you can exchange it for goods and services or for rewards. I'm not too sure where it's at exactly right now. I know they updated their program lately. If you can get cash rewards as well, which is exchanging it back into fiat currency. But the point is, someone controls how much Canadian Tire Money there is. and what is the value in exchange of that. So what do you like for X amount of Canadian Tire money, you get this, that, or the other, and that creates kind of a exchange rate, if you want, right? Which is also what they apply for if you want your cash rewards with it, that kind of stuff. The other thing that's also really important to understand, which is less obvious when you talk about things like Canadian Tire money, is that there's already a credibility built in the name Canadian Tire. And so people will be okay with it because it's backed by the corporation itself, which is a big multinational, so on and so forth. But it's nothing different than if you're collecting baseball cards or if you're collecting hockey cards. Wayne Gretzky rookie, as of now, apparently is selling for $124,000 Canadian on eBay. But who's going to buy it? If you don't shop at Canadian Tire, the value of that money is next to nothing to you unless you can transfer it into something like fiat currency for most of us so that I can buy goods and services, so Canadian dollar. So who believes that this piece of paper has $125,000 Canadian dollar value is the people that are card collectors. We're going to see similar terms used when we make the parallel with air miles and that kind of stuff. So for who does that have a value? For collectors. So whoever collects hockey card, baseball cards, like I have a little collection there in that box from when I was a child. Like, so there's a value to me. But I have to go to like a hobby store, a card collecting store, something like that, to be able to cash in those cards. Otherwise, they're just a bunch of paper sitting in my box. Now, it's not everybody that's going to see the value of having these pieces of paper, going to a hobby store, then exchanging that for Canadian dollars in my case, even though they know there is a value there. So the thing here is that the value of it is also based on the belief that the person carries. So I'm going to make an example here. Like an older lady, let's say in her 80s, is probably not going to want to bother with this, right? So again, like if you shop at Canadian Tire and all that kind of stuff, that has value for you. It's a form of collecting. It's a network that's determined, that has an amount of money that is determined by the person that runs this network, this organization. In this case, like I'm talking about is, for example, Canadian Tire, but you can use any loyalty program. They're all the same. Now you can see also like for airlines, it's what became like their savior, because the value of airlines now is more linked to the programs that they have, the number of customers they have, and the value of that program, how many miles have been sold, than their actual business of flying you around. So behind all of this, there has to be a system to keep track of what's happening within the network, so that the credibility and the value of the units being put out keep their value, their credibility. If there were people could start just printing Wayne Gretzky rookie cards, that would be the same as this, then the value of it would dilute because there would just be more and more of it, supply and demand type stuff, right? So behind all of this, and you'll see when we talk about blockchain here, I know I'm jumping from one to the other, but I'm making the link about a network. So if we read what the definition of blockchain is a shared immutable ledger that facilitates the process of recording transactions and tracking assets in a business network. So that's the same thing as a loyalty program. A loyalty program is a ledger to track and facilitate recording the transaction and tracking asset in a business network. Just like we talked about, just like we saw in regards to any of these loyalty programs. But blockchain is the new software, the new technology, so using more advanced coding, that kind of stuff. I am not a coder, I am not an expert in that field, but basically that's what it is. A better version of coding, a better version of software that keeps tracks, process the transaction, keeps tracks of them, and so on and so forth. So in a way, blockchain is just the new technology applied to an old system. And cryptocurrencies, to me, are a mirror image to loyalty programs. And so now what I've asked is I've asked ChatGPT, yes, that's right, welcome to the new world, to explain in details using charts and org charts the parallel between air miles and cryptocurrencies and the way they operate and are structured. So let's see what it first answered, and then we went on the discussion. I asked clarification. So air miles and cryptocurrencies are two different types of reward system. So already they're, ChatGPT understand that at the very essence of it, they're reward system, they're loyalty programs. However, there are some parallels in their operation and structure that we can explore. So then he goes into explaining the structure of air miles. And you'll see air miles collector. Doesn't that sound familiar to hockey cards collector, like Canadian Tire money collectors? Right. Okay, so Air Miles is a loyalty program that rewards customers for their purchases with participating retailers. Customers earn Air Miles by shopping at these retailers and can then redeem the Air Miles for various rewards such as flights, hotels, and merchandise. Here's an organizational chart to help illustrate the structure of the Air Miles program. So pretty simple. One side of the program you have the collectors, i.e. the buyers, the people that take fiat currency and exchange it for these units. And you have the partners, which will promote the units. But where do they get the units? They have to buy it from the program. Air Mile program, Canadian Tire money, same thing. They will buy it at a dime on the dollar or whatever, and they will turn around and then will issue it out and reinforce the system by doing so, buying themselves some exposure and so on and so forth. It's networking business, right? So then it goes down and breaking it down. How can you as a person collect Air Miles? Well, by shopping or by literally getting the rewards for different reasons. And then how do the partners do it? Well, they offer you programs like Air Miles Dreams that you can exchange for money, for services, for flights, and Air Miles sponsorships. As you can see, the Air Mile programs has different categories of participants. Customers are known as Air Mile collectors. And they earn Air Miles by shopping at retailers that are part of the program. Right, like if you're on, let's say, the Ethereum blockchain or that ledger, within that ledger, there's a lot of different ecosystem. So it would be like Canadian Tire would franchise its money to other businesses, literally, let's say like Walmart or things like that. And then there would be another ecosystem that runs on that money. That's what is happening with all the different cryptocurrencies is there's a bunch of little ecosystems that are being built, and there's different partners based on their belief, the way they feel about who's creating it, the I'm not too sure how they call like the plans of putting a cryptocurrency out and what their intentions are and how they're gonna. So there's a paper that they put out to explain that. So that's pure feeling. It's like, do you like hockey cards? Do you like baseball cards? Do you like paintings? Like same thing, right? So they earn Air Miles by shopping at retailers that are part of the program. These retailers are known as Air Mile partners, and they offer Air Miles as a reward for customer loyalty. Right. How do they offer these rewards? They first buy them from Air Miles. Air Miles collector can use the Air Miles to redeem rewards in 3 different categories: Air Mile Cash, Air Mile Dreams, Air Mile Sponsor. Air Mile Cash can be used to pay for purchases at participating retailer. Same thing as within the network. So you can buy different things like NFTs or different things you can buy within that network. While Air Mile Dreams can be used for travel, merchandise, and other rewards. So again, same thing. Goods, services you can exchange for, just different channel of it. I'm sure there's similar parallels into the cryptocurrency, the different layers or level of cryptos and that kind of stuff. Air Mile Sponsor allows collectors to donate their Air Miles to charity. So then you exchange this for tax government advantages and stuff like that. That's as close as crypto is ever going to get to be legal money. So one of the things I want people to understand is that cryptocurrencies to me will never be anything else than reward programs. Like Canadian Tire is allowed to print money, but it's not money. You cannot just, it's not an obligation towards any legal entity that operates in Canada to exchange that piece of paper against goods and services. But if it's a Canadian dollar bill, then they have to honor it. So to me, we're moving into an era where CBDCs to crypto is the same as fiat currencies to reward programs. So then ChatGPT goes into cryptocurrencies are digital or virtual currencies that use cryptography for security. They operate on a decentralized network, which means that there's no central authority controlling the transaction. But you'll see that it's also the same thing for air mile programs, for example, or any other reward program. So here's an organizational chart to help illustrate the structure of cryptocurrencies. So cryptocurrency, in this case, they show the two main ones, Bitcoin, Ethereum, the two type of blockchain ledgers that are running. So your different blockchain is here. So you got Bitcoin and Ethereum. And within them, you have cryptocurrencies. So Tether, Chainlink, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin. You have many others, right? So cryptocurrencies have different structure for air miles since they operate on the decentralized network. So the thing here that ChatGPT doesn't see is that he's focusing on one, which is air miles, versus the whole system of cryptocurrencies and looking at one cryptocurrency in particular. So maybe I should have done that for a better explanation, but you'll see how it develops after this. So cryptocurrencies have a different structure from air miles since they operate on the decentralized network. Each cryptocurrency is its own network and user can transact directly with one another without intermediaries. Okay. Bitcoin and Ethereum are two of the most well-known cryptocurrencies. They have their own sub-currencies such as Litecoin, Bitcoin, Chainlink, and Tether, as we just saw. These sub-currencies operate on the same network as their parent cryptocurrency. So same thing here as the air mile dreams, that kind of stuff. The sub-currencies to the main currency, the air miles to the different sub-air miles that feed into the system. But at the end of the day, air mile has its own ledger, it's its own world. Ethereum has its own ledger, it's its own world. Bitcoin has its own ledger, as its own world. Similarities between air miles and cryptocurrencies. So, while air miles and cryptocurrencies have different structures and operate in different industries, there are some similarities between them. First, both air miles and cryptocurrencies operate as reward system. Air miles reward customer for the loyalty to participating retailers, while cryptocurrency reward user for contributing to the network. Contributing to the network means the same thing truly as participating retailers. Second, both air miles and cryptocurrency can be redeemed for rewards. Air miles collector can redeem their air miles for flights, hotels, and merchandise, while cryptocurrency users can use their coins to purchase goods or services or to exchange them for fiat currency. So they're basically saying does the same thing. Third, both air miles and cryptocurrencies have a network of participants. Air miles has its collectors, partners, shopper, cash, dream, and sponsor categories, while cryptocurrencies have their users, subcategories, and nodes. Overall, while there are some parallels between air mile and cryptocurrencies, they operate in different industries and have different structures. However, the concept of a reward system and the use of networks to facilitate transaction are important features that they share. And that's why we're going to ask ChatGPT to explain further. So expand on the features they share. And this is where what I've been saying comes clearer and we start putting these pieces together, and why I have been so adamant that cryptocurrencies will never replace dollars or the fiat system. It will be in parallel with it. It can have value just like hockey cards, baseball cards, and everything else has value, but it will never be a legal government tender, and I'll get into this after this little bit here. So air miles and cryptocurrencies share a few important features despite their differences in operation and structures. Here are some key similarities. One, they're both reward system. Both air miles and cryptocurrencies operate as reward system. Air miles reward customers for their loyalty to participating retailers, while cryptocurrencies reward users for contributing to the network. In both cases, the rewards can be redeemed for goods or services or exchanged for other forms of value. Okay. Second, network of participants. Both air miles and cryptocurrencies have a network of participants. Air miles have their collectors, partners, shoppers, cash, dream, and sponsors categories, while cryptocurrencies have their users, subcategories, and node. In both cases, the network is critical to the operation of the system as it enables transaction and contribute to the value of the rewards. Remember what I said, like why would they buy air miles and then give them to people is to reinforce that network, bring people in, and once people have enough value in, then it's like a game, right? And now you have something of value that you can exchange, and now you're caught in that game, you're caught in that program. And the cost for you to move to another program and lose that value is probably not worth it. And people try to run a lot of these little programs side by side. So your Plums reward program, your PC rewards program, your McDonald points, your PC. I just said that. Anyway, you get the point. Okay. So it's the same thing with cryptocurrencies. Now let's go to the third point, which is really important, and why I'm saying they're the same thing. They're decentralized. Cryptocurrencies are decentralized, which means that there is no central authority controlling their transactions. Similarly, air miles operate as a decentralized system of rewards with multiple partners and collectors participating in the network. Right. The parallel between the two. Secure. Both air miles and cryptocurrency use security measures to protect their rewards and transactions. Air miles use PINs and passwords to protect customers' account, while cryptocurrencies use cryptography to secure the transaction. So it's just the new technology applied on an old system and how they exist in parallel. The reward system and the fact that they have money or currencies, and how that is not illegal in comparison to the Canadian dollars, for example, here in Canada. So it'll be the same thing. CBDCs, cryptocurrencies. It's not that cryptocurrencies will be illegal, it's that they will never be a legal tender. They will exist for the fact that they exist, and we'll talk a little bit more about this. Transferable. Both air miles and cryptocurrencies are transferable between participants. Air miles can be gifted or transferred to family or friends, while cryptocurrencies can be sent or received between users. In both cases, the ability to transfer the rewards and hence the value and utility. Again, reinforcing the network. Limited supply. Both air miles and cryptocurrencies have a limited supply. Air miles are issued by the participant retailers, while cryptocurrencies have a predetermined supply cap. The limited supply is an important factor in determining the value of the rewards. Exactly. So air miles controlled how many of those air miles is issued to the participating retailer. Same thing, right? Same thing as the cryptocurrency. Who's creating the cryptocurrency? How much are they putting out there? How much are they putting aside for themselves, like burning, so on and so forth. Just like air miles did a couple of years ago, when they're like, everybody that had been collecting so many points for so many times is going to expire at the end of the year. And there's a big backfire and all that, right? Because they're like, oh no, you're not going to burn the points. In summary, while air miles and cryptocurrencies operate in different industries and have different structures, they share some important features. Both operate as a reward system, have a network of participants, are decentralized and secure, transferable, and have a limited supply. These similarities contribute to the value and utility of the rewards and demonstrate the potential of using innovative models to incentivize behaviors and transactions. So basically, a feedback loop. So the more there is of it and the more people use it, the more value there is, the more value there is, the more people want to use it, and so on and so forth. And that credibility comes from the name that backs them up. Canadian Tire's money, for example, Air Miles rewards, and just another one. Whereas cryptocurrency, they're trying to create as much credibility right off the bat to support that momentum to get going, to get people into it, and then have that loop created. All right, so I've talked about why I make the parallel between these two things. And now that brings us to another thing I talked about with ChatGPT, and it's explained how the XRP legal status is affected by latest legal decision by the US Supreme Court. So for those who don't know, XRP or Ripple is, as you can see here, I asked to explain it. This thing is great. XRP, the cryptocurrency associated with Ripple Lab, is backed by a private company called Ripple. Ripple is a San Francisco-based company that was founded in 2012 and has developed a suite of software products that are designed to facilitate cross-border payments. The company has several high-profile investors, including the following name: Google Ventures, Standard Chartered, amongst others. Ripple has also entered into partnerships with a number of financial institutions around the world, including American Express, Santander, and Standard Chartered, as we just mentioned, to name a few. It's worth noting that while Ripple is the company that created XRP, it has played a significant role in its development. XRP is designed to be decentralized cryptocurrency that operates independently of Ripple. However, Ripple has been accused of exerting control over XRP value and liquidity, which has been the subject of controversy in the cryptocurrency community. Over the last few months, there was this lawsuit going up to the Supreme Court of the US in regards to the legal status of XRP. So XRP, of all the cryptocurrencies that were put out there, was the one that I identify was truly backed by the mainstream, so institutions and things like that. So you see American Express in there, you saw Standard Chartered, big names in the like Santander, things like that. So this one is the one that, to my understanding, they're trying to create so they have a token to exchange things. So eventually with CBDCs, you'll have like the Canadian CBDC, you'll have the US CBDC, like the Fed coin and the Canada coin, and how are you going to trade in between the two? Right now it's all based on US dollars, like the Canadian dollar is valued versus the US dollar, the euro versus US dollars, and so on and so forth, not back in the goal anymore. And so we're going to need something like a token like Ripple to do an exchange and transfer from one ecosystem to the other, because you'll have the Canadian coin that has its ecosystem, and eventually hopefully they'll be all interchangeable, and we'll probably have just one digital currency for the financial system. And that's something I can make a video about, what's going on in the world, why what's going on in the world is going on, what's the ultimate goal of this new type of war, I would say. So, but not, let's stay on topic here and have a look. So the legal status of XRP, cryptocurrency associated with Ripple Lab, has been a subject of controversy. And it's in front of the Supreme Court. As the Security and Exchange Commission filed a lawsuit against Ripple in December 2020, alleging that XRP was a security and that the company had conducted an unregistered security offering in violation of U.S. security laws. And that's to establish the legal status of those things. The same way Canadian Tire money is not a security. You can sell it and buy it online, on eBay, that kind of stuff. You cannot do the same thing with mutual funds or stock and that kind of thing. And so this is really important in starting to draw the lines in between what is what and what will be legal tender and what will not be legal tender. So I'm not too sure how the whole token part is going to play behind the scenes to be able to go from one cryptocurrency to the other. So the same way, if you go from, I don't know, like Shiba Inu to Dogecoin, I'm suspecting you need to transfer through Ethereum, for example, right? So the point here is that XRP's legal status was not recognized as a security, and that Ripple had, committed any financial crimes or anything like that. Why is this important? Well, I had an answer from ChatGPT in that regard. I hope I didn't lose it. All right, so national currencies, and why this is important to understand, and why understanding the role of money in our society is crucial to understanding what the governments are taking as an approach over the last few years and moving forward as to the status of cryptocurrencies versus what's coming up. We've heard about CBDCs. I believe the US government just finished their first trial of the federal CBDC in the US. It was like a 12-week program they ran over the end of 2020, beginning of 2023. And they're going to kind of take the lessons from this and use that to move forward into the application of CBDCs, which I think is going to be either later this year or early next year. Now, why is this playing the way it is? It's because without a currency, a government cannot truly exist. It has no spending power. It's at the mercy of the market. So it cannot plan, it cannot budget, and so on and so forth. It cannot exert control over its citizen in regards to taxation and all that kind of stuff. So even though we want that from an individual perspective, it's not necessarily the best approach, although I am really wary of like oversight and collecting information, which we've already seen is going on. Nonetheless, the reason why I believe these two systems are just new versions of the older system, which is fiat currency and reward system versus CBDCs that are coming and the cryptocurrencies, is how important it is for a government to control its money. So national currencies allow government to exercise control over their population in a number of ways. Monetary policies. Government can influence the economy and control inflation by adjusting the money supply. Like we've seen this in the last few years, right? Like printing of money and interest rate through monetary policies. And then we're hearing about the central bank. Interest rates going up. Interest rate needs to go down. Interest rate going up. Right? We can talk more about these things in a different video. They can increase or decrease the supply of money in the economy by buying or selling government bonds, which affects interest rate and borrowing costs for businesses and individual. All right, pretty straightforward. We hear a lot about this in the news. Taxation. Governments can use their control over their national currency to impose and collect taxes. By setting tax rates and accepting payments in their national currency, they can raise revenue to fund public goods and services such as infrastructures, education, and healthcare. The ability to tax and spend is a fundamental aspect of government control. Not that I like it, but there still need to be a structure, a way that we can organize ourselves, work within a system that is benefit to all of us, and nothing's going to be without downsides. Exchange rates. National currencies also allow government to control the exchange rate of their currency in relation to other currencies. This can affect the value of export and import, which can impact the economy, employment, prices of goods and services. So this is like the GDP, for example. And then with cryptocurrencies, government will be able to have their own ecosystem and keep track of the growth of their particular economy through their money supply, through the activity of that money, and knowing the transaction, like the ledger we talked about earlier, like everything. If there's no cash or anything like that, it can be used, which is what we're going towards with CBDCs. You will never be able to make a transaction outside of the financial system unless you decide to barter and trade 2 chicken for milk, for example, or whatever. 4. Regulation and restriction. Government can use national currencies to impose regulation and restriction on their citizens, businesses, and foreign entities. So, for example, taxing like foreign people if they buy real estate in a market that's too hot, things like that. Financial surveillance, and that's an important one. National currencies also allow government to monitor financial transactions and conduct surveillance on their citizen. That's a dangerous double-edged sword here, but that's also the big advantage of those new digital ledgers, like the blockchain. In summary, national currencies give governments significant control over their citizens, the economy, and the financial system. They provide tools for government to manage economic growth, regulate behaviors, and monitor activity, which can be used for both beneficial and harmful purposes. And that's what we're all afraid of, because we've seen so much nefarious behaviors, so much hypocrisy in what's being presented to us as the narrative of the overall story in the world as we're going through it. As such, it is important for government to use their power over national currencies in responsible and transparent ways that benefit the welfare of their citizens. So can a government operate without a national currency? And so that's why I've said from the beginning that this is where it was going. That it would take a long time, but eventually this is where we're going. And here's why, in a sense, we've talked about. It is technically possible for government to operate without a national currency, but it would be very difficult and practical to do so. National currency is a fundamental tool for government to carry out its duties and responsibilities, such as collecting taxes, regulating the economy, and providing public goods and services. And so basically the cost of not having control over money for government is much higher for us individually and as a society than to have a certain amount of control, albeit the system into which we're moving, the blockchain, the digital transaction and ledger, with such overall oversight is extremely scary in regards to privacy and just personal decisions on how you want to spend that money, where you want to spend it, and that kind of stuff. Now, don't forget that these central bank system, the digital currencies coming, the cryptocurrency that already exists and are prominent, moving forward, I just lost my thought here. Yes. Okay. So it's important also to understand that there could exist more than one blockchain ledger. So for example, we can have what we call right now the SWIFT system, which is the international financial system that covers basically the Western civilization, surrounded and centered by the United States and Europe and things like that. And on the other side, you have an emerging system with the BRICS, so Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and we could even put in there Saudi Arabia now, that are creating a parallel system, which moving forward, what I see it and understand it as being is we're going to have two main ledger system. Compare it to Bitcoin and Ethereum. The kind of the Chinese centered system, financial system that will be based on the Chinese CBDC, which is already in place and they've been using for over a year now. And then you'll have the SWIFT system that will be replaced by a central bank digital currency that will mainly be based on the US financial influence that exists right now. And then there'll be two financial system ways to get in between the two and that kind of stuff. All right, so this has been quite the video here this morning, about 35 minutes or so. I hope you enjoyed. There was a lot to cover. Please, if you have questions, you want me to talk more about something or something didn't make sense at all, let me know. Otherwise, again, thank you very much for being here. If you find that this was good, share it. Share the YouTube channel, share the video with people so they can look and express their opinion and share if there's anything I need to look at differently or if you guys agree. So on that, enjoy the rest of your weekend and see you guys later. Cheers.